I'm Margaret Ann Windsor, and I'm putting this up for a reason. And uh, as I have everything, and this doctor, by the way, uh, I didn't mean for his name to go up because, as far as I know, he hasn't done anything wrong. In fact, I liked him very much. I saw him a year ago, and this lady, Carrie Duncan. Maybe I shouldn't say her name, but I'm showing it. As far as I know, she's done nothing wrong. This is the hearing test that I had yesterday, and I'm going to scan over it. I put things up as a matter of record of what's happened to me. And I'm going to turn it around. I know that a year ago, about a year ago, I saw the doctor, and by the way, I have nothing bad to say about this doctor. I think in the little bit that I've seen him, I think he's a nice man and is very good at what he does. Ear, nose, and throat. So now, so I don't want to imply anything bad about him here. I have told, oh my God, for over the year 76, I started writing the medical malpractice book, and I usually lay pictures and backup and everything, and especially article that Hustler magazine did April of 84, endorsing me in a candidacy. And I had been out there in October of 83 at twice his Bel Air home, and he helped me in the campaign to special election to replace Congressman Dr. Larry McDonald. I had written about him in the malpractice book. It almost died April Fool Day of 80, and he was a part of that. Flint says in this article, he said that I know who was responsible for his shooting in Lawrenceville, Georgia. I lived in Marietta. And he said that, and this is an article, and I've put this up and focused on that so you can see it, what he said. So Flint was shot by a program shooter. And I knew it when it happened. I was doing the book, and it was March the 6th of 78. Mr. Flint was gunned down. His insides, or guts, if you want to say it, was all over the sidewalk of Lawrenceville. His wife died, Althea. I want to say this. When I was out there, they were nice to me. I'm so sorry it happened to them. They tried to help. You see, I didn't know my name then, my real name. And the reason for all this, I was kidnapped. I found out after I left Flint's. And it all made sense then, and I could remember, and I've put all this up over and over. My father's Edward VIII, who married my mom, and she was queen in 1936, and should have remained. It was legal. It was illegal what was done to them. She's sister to artist Georgia O'Keeffe from Madison, Wisconsin, an American. My father married her. He never had anything to do with Wallace Simpson. She married a double in 37, the same year the Illuminati, the global government that's doing this mess and in power now. Their front is the United Nations. They came together after they installed George VI, who's illegal, Elizabeth's father. And yes, Elizabeth and all of them know all about my kidnapping, who my mom is, that she was the queen. They had the Archbishop of Canterbury, I believe that's, Cosmos Lang was in on it in 36. This is when my dad had remained alive, and my mom And I did know for sure, and that was in October of '86, they were still alive and married to each other. My father, an honest man who stood up to the mafia, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Kennedys, Bilderbergers that control your banking, and Roosevelt, another Jew, and Roosevelt family, the president, and said, no, I'm not going to follow your orders. He was true to his country. Look what a price he paid. And look at the price I paid. I wouldn't have changed a thing about him and my mom. I appreciate his honesty, and I'm so sad that people have chosen to lie about him. And they still are with this Meghan Markle and Harry. Supposedly Prince Harry, they're illegal, and there's a question of whether this is really Harry, because some say that Harry was shot and killed, and he wasn't even Charles's son. Diana had. Anyway, I don't want to get lost in all that. They all know about it. They're money-hungry people are. And Winston Churchill got into burning the files of my father's marriage, the Windsor files. I'll say that. You can understand my birth certificate, although I understand it's out there. And the Brits told me, and the Germans who I am, and some Americans. And by the way, there were some good Americans. There were some good old boys, girls from Alabama, some from Georgia. So there were some good ones here, but by the whole 99%, they're Americans. They didn't give a rat's what they did to me, brought me over here. How dare me tell them and ruin their image. It's been a hell going on. And what I want to get to here, and I feel pretty bad. I've been worked over from asshole to appetite. Saying it like it is. Don't sugarcoat what's been done to me and my kids. I just hope it's told and prosecuted, and who can do that? I want to get to this before this goes off, and I'm going to quit because I've been putting this up here, telling about it since '76, mind control murders and programming and all that, and people just hate me for it, and for what's been ongoing to me, the crimes and torture to me. I've been kept penniless and homeless, and things done to me by people. You only get to know them when you're one-on-one, and you're a beggar. Doesn't matter what you're telling them. Now I'm going to get to this, and I hope I can stay on track here. So nobody can say I'm jumping back and forth, because in a sense I am in time. The Virginia Tech shootings that were in '09 next door to me here in Blacksburg, that was a programmed shooter from South Korea. He was a student. He was programmed to turn the gun on himself then and kill himself, which appears to be suicide. He was programmed to, it's murder by mind control. The fact he was a puppet to shoot them. The mind control and the motive is in the minds of the groups that's doing this. And by the way, in all of this, when it's over and said and done, how can you blame? Because nobody tried to do anything about it. They wanted me shut up in the worst way. So now that I've put all this up, Larry Flint was shot by a programmed shooter, and I put up about Tesla files being stolen in '30, but I think this was going on a long time before programming. People like King Ferdinand and the Romanovs were killed. That's not funny. It's so ludicrous. Anastasia was killed right up here, and that was Anna in Charlottesville. And it gets scary trying to tell it. I've been telling it. And things are so bad right at the moment for me that I've put it up. That's all I can do. And gone to the press that's controlled by the Illuminati. And it's shocking to watch the press here. I went to them when I first came here, and they're not going to touch it. And I could get into why. But I think you know. Uh, One man was the director. I'll go ahead and say it. He was director of one of the channels here, local stations, and he was down at the Roanoke Times when I first came. And by the way, Gene Owens was transferred. He was a good guy. He was the editor at the Roanoke Times. But then suddenly, after I go in there, and he's in Greensboro, North Carolina, I believe, and I don't know where he is now. But then this director, and I'm not going to say his name, uh, he and the Roanoke Times were going to help, and then he had a couple of heart attacks, and he didn't want to touch me. He didn't want to be near me. I didn't do any of this except tell you. I was honest. About everything. I haven't lied. And you say you want the truth, so I'm going to leave it there because there's more to that. They actually turn on me then, these same people. But my point in part was telling what happened to me, but I was telling about the mind control murders prior for since 76. And mind control and programming is done at a level that you're not aware you're getting. And if you did, it's been so distorted because people don't stop and think that it's been, if you said there's satellites, even though people know there's satellites now out there, communication satellites, where Philip Graham was on, I don't know which one it was information. Well, Graham was on ComSat, and I better shut up because ComSat's. So it gets into mind control, and it's not subliminal like you want to think. I'm going to quit there. I've put it all up. So the Aurora, Colorado, I'll say James Holmes, was not crazy. He was not paranoid, schizophrenic. He was programmed. And you don't treat a person who's programmed, any fool knows that. You stop the programming and you stop the mind control. You don't put this person on psychotic drugs and lock them up in a mental hospital. That's political. And that's where all this is going. With the shootings in Parkland, gee, Parkland, that reminds me of Dallas, Texas, and where JFK, who helped kidnap me, his father was appointed um, ambassador to England by President Roosevelt. He was part of my kidnapping. JFK was his son. Parkland in Dallas, and now it seems to be winding up because all these were done by mind control that the press, Illuminati control, have put up. And I want to say this, and I'll forget where I'm going here, trying to get back. I was in Bedford some years ago, and I had to go to the police department there to try to get me a ride back to a homeless shelter. How's that? Anyway, they sent me down deliberately in front of this long hallway, and there was just a small bench there, and it was in front of this big, it was a great big, anyway, about as long as, if you, this is my bed. And it had all these pictures wanted by the FBI, people wanted for murder and et cetera, et cetera. They set me down, and I looked at it, and I looked at all these pictures and things that were kind of small, but they had clippings wanted by the FBI and murders. I didn't know anything about them. I think that was the point that they set me down there. I have told the truth about all this. They were done in patterns, and that's the Parkland that's just done. So either this in Florida, either it's told now or it'll be shut up, and you don't want to know how it's shut up. Everybody says they want the truth until they hear it. They want to kill the messenger, and that's me. So I'm going to go back to this on Parkland. I haven't had anybody band together to help me. I'm talking about women's rights group. Look what they've done out in Hollywood, and look what these students in Parkland, Florida, have done suddenly. But the press is behind them, the Illuminati press, because they're on the wrong track. It's not the guns that kill, it's the mind control. And when they're defaming this young man down there, Cruz, supposedly shot all these people, he didn't shoot them, he was programmed, he didn't even know he was going to do it. It could have been any of these students that's suddenly gun ho, which you may think is a good thing. Why did nobody do this at the Virginia Tech in Atlanta when I told all this? That's a long list of murders that happened. I have told so much and begged the press and walked in YouTube and Facebook, and nobody. And now look, suddenly, if these students are getting all the press, they're going to take down the guns. And I want to say again, it could have been any one of them. It could have been your sheriff came out, programmed shooting, or on the airplanes where they've put the marshals. They could be programmed come out to shoot. So that's if that's a sick joke, that's what's going on. So where were all the people? I'm going to mention WDBJ7 again here because I went to all of them when I came here, and nobody. One of the hosts the other morning said that the FBI missed a clue that was given them about this young man that's supposed to be the shooter, Cruz, and none of this would have happened if they had followed up correctly. None of this would have happened since 1976 if anybody had given a rat's about me and what I was telling. A letter from the FBI, I had two actually. I almost killed April Fool Day of 80. Illegally taken across the state line and worked for Fred Simpson, the district attorney, with a background check done in the condition I'm in. And if you did a background check on me, you wouldn't even see the right name, and you would see a bunch of gobbledygook. Is total lies. So to heck with your background checks that you think you're going to get. You're living in a dream world. America, you've lived good for so long. Well, you don't want the truth. I've told it. And these students say they want the truth, and they're gun-ho to take on the Rifle Association and all that. That won't stop it. Mind control has been used to create illnesses or cure them. This is what your government that you're so proud of is playing around with. And they took out my father. They've taken out leaders. If they didn't shoot them and call them terrorists, they used character assassination and kidnapping to take them down. So I wanted to get to this, though. They're going up, and they've got all these buses. I thought if any one of these had tried to help me in the past, over the years, none of this would have happened. If it had forced the press to tell it. But they didn't. Now then, they're wanting, I hope this goes up, they're wanting this to make Trump and to make U.S. Attorney General Sessions demand passages of new gun laws and all this to take out your guns, really. I want to get to this. When Sessions, I wrote him in 2001, because a lot of this that happened to me, I was going to see if it's going up. I was brought to Moulton, Alabama when I was kidnapped at age 2, and a horror story all my life. But so much of this illegal and what was done in Alabama too. Before I went to Georgia, I lived in Georgia. My husband was transferred to work for Lockheed George Marietta. There in Marietta, he worked for the space industry too. And then I moved up. I don't know if you say I moved up here, gravitated to the forest to have a place to be. But back to